Okay, welcome to another holistic living tip. And today we're going to talk about RV living. So, when I'm in my RV, a lot of times I do not hook up my water to the city water to consume their water on a regular basis. Often, what I do is fill up my freshwater tank and then I use the water from my freshwater tank. And I do this because I don't like having stale water in my freshwater tank. And what I mean by stale water is if you are constantly hooking up to the city water, you don't really use your fresh water that is in your tank. There's two separate tanks, right? And if you don't use that water and then eventually you go to use it, it's kind of stale. It's been sitting. Now I'm a scientist, I've dealt with microorganisms growing in water, and when you have an RV, you're supposed to flush out or sanitize your tanks. Most people don't do those as often as they should, and therefore, bacteria, algae, things of that nature build up in the tanks. And there's a lot of reasons why that happens, but it also is really, really dependent on your water source. And living in the US, traveling in the US, sometimes I go to a gas station and they tell you that the water that you're using is not potable, which means you can't drink it. So you don't know what's in it. I have filters that I use. I have the standard filter that I use when I filter my water when I'm getting it filling up from the house or anywhere. And then I also filter my drinking water a second time when once I get it out of the faucet. And so I do take multiple steps. I even also have a bottle that when I pour the water into it, it can filter the water again. And that's because what we consume is extremely important, as well as what we put on our body is extremely important. So if you're living RV life or van life or something like that, and maybe I guess many of the van lifers don't have this issue because they have a different water source. So primarily, I guess the RVers out there, if you're new to RV life and you're going to RV park and you're always hooking up to their water, I would recommend don't. Take a day or two. It depends on how much water you have, how many people you have living with you, and use the water that's in your freshwater tank. My freshwater tank, I never fill it up completely, by the way. And one, there's two reasons for that. One of those reasons is because when I'm driving down the road, I don't want to carry that extra weight. Those are gallons, and that extra weight impacts your gas uses and your gas mileage. You know, how many miles per gallon you actually get. So we don't want any unnecessary weight. Two part is if I have that full, then I need to empty that water. And I am a nature lover. I am connected to Mother Gaia, and therefore I don't want to just waste water. So just pouring water out somewhere back into the earth for absolutely no reason to me seems a waste. Now, if I were to take that water and actually put it into a place where I have a garden, a little bit different, right? So I don't fill it up all of the way. Right now, I'm getting ready to take a shower and it is on level 2.5. So after I take a shower, it's probably going to be at a solid 2. A couple more days of doing that and then it would be down empty. And I would need to fill it up again. And so I will have a fresh stream of water that I'm using. Okay. This is all about water and my water tips of what I do when it comes to water. Now, when it comes to we have a gray tank and we have a black tank on our RVs. And the gray tank is your fresh water or your clean water, your water that you use to take a shower. It is your water that you use in your kitchen sink, in your bathroom sink. That's the water that is found in your gray holding tank. The black water is the water that comes from your toilet. So if you have a toilet that utilizes water, and that means you don't have a composting toilet, that water is mixed with fecal matter, urine, whatever else you put down there. So you don't want to expose the grass to the black waste, right? For so many different reasons. It's not sanitary, reason number one. And two, there's microorganisms that are growing there that you don't want to put into the regular grass, right? Because you could cause damage. Now, if I am home, I do take my gray water and I dump it into an area at my house because it is an area that I use for composting. It is an area and that where I have different things that I'm growing, right? So I'm just taking water, might be dishwater, and I use I use environmentally safe dish liquid, so it's not really harmful. I use a lot of natural products. So I would take and allow that water to drain into this one particular area, right? I have heard of people who drain their black water tank into a composting area, and that's acceptable if the place where you're at allows it. You have to find that out. I don't do that because if you do it, there's a whole lot you have to do. It takes like a year for the waste to actually break down. It's a bunch of things involved in it that your girl ain't got time for that. I'm not home at my house in Tallahassee often enough to be doing that kind of stuff. But if I am home, that's where I dump my gray water, right? Now, if I'm traveling on the road, I go to stations like the Love's gas station, the Flying J, the Pilots, and I pay the $10 to dump my waste there. Okay. I sometimes get my fresh water from there because the fresh water is always free. When you go to these gas stations, they let you fill up your water for free. You never have to pay for it. Okay. At least at here it is 2025. That's what it is. Okay. So knowing that, I know that that water may not be as clean as I would like for it to be. I'm saying all this for you to pay attention. I want you to pay attention to how much water you're keeping in your tanks because the scientist in me says watch out for the growth of microorganisms. And then I want you to pay attention to how you're disposing of your water because the environmentalist in me says let's take care of Mother Earth, right? Mother Gaia, we only have one Earth. And then the naturopath in me says, let's also make sure that you're not putting waste matter back into an area where people would be consuming it. Where if people are growing their vegetables and fruits and things and they're eating that. So we want to consume things that are healthy for us. So let's not put our waste in areas where it should not be. Which means if you have to pay the $10, pay the $10. And all that to say, I went to a station recently while I was traveling and I was like, hey, as a matter of fact, it was a Love's, and y'all know I love Love's. And I went to Love's and I was like, hey, I think I'm going to dump my waste here. And I went to the guy who had helped me fill my propane up. And then he's like, yeah, we'll give you the key to unlock the lock. They have a keypad on it and a giant lock and they want you to unlock it. I was like, no, 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 ma'am. No, ma'am. Your girl here, your girl is not going touching on this, even though I wear gloves with a key and lock where some nasty person has been. No, 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 not doing that. So oftentimes I end up dumping at the Pilot or Flying J because their setup is where they have a little contraption where you step on it, you step on the back and it opens up the whole area. You use a credit card to pay for it. It's like seamless. You don't have to go inside and pay. You don't have to take a key and lock and all that kind of stuff. Not trying to do that. Another place where I dump is like at the state parks. When I was in Pensacola, the state park, of course, they have it similar. You step on it, open it up, no key, no lock, none of that. State parks are free. All right. And if you sit in an RV park, they have the traditional setup where you have to hook your hose up. Again, not having to deal with so much of touching potentially what someone else's waste has been. Okay. Now, hopefully in 2025, I'm going to get a composting toilet so I won't have to deal with that other waste. And I'll talk about that to you guys. So what are the key takeaways from this video? Don't fill your freshwater up full. Don't ride with it full. Do your best to not hook up to the RV park on a continuous basis unless you're going to be there and your fresh tank is empty. Do that. Okay. And then if you're going to dump, you have to dump your waste and you have to dump your gray waste and your black waste. Make sure that you're dumping your gray waste in an area where the water can be useful to the area. Make sure you're always dumping your black waste at a place where you're allowed to dump. Like, don't just dump that on the street. I did have a guy tell me at that Love's, well, you can just open your cap and as you ride down the street, it'll just go into. And I was like, no, that is not nice. That is not kind. That is not being a good human. And I'm not that person. Okay. All right. Hopefully this helped you guys out with your RV tip regarding the fresh water. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye.